Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Weighing In, brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. Our homeboy, Grant Turner, is still at the World Championships, Mark, so it's up to you and I to hold it down this week. We're going to get into it. I talked to a friend the other day about a parlay you could have bet, and let me say USA Wrestling does not endorse gambling, but some of the crazy odds that have come together on this tournament. So it's been a wild couple of days, some amazing wrestling. Just so people understand, we're recording this on Thursday. The men's freestyle is done. The women's freestyle is basically done. But for the sake of giving both teams their due amount of time, we're just going to talk about the men's this week and then the women's next week, and then Greco the week after or whatever, and then start to get into college stuff. Because if we have to cut college stuff short, I would rather do that than cut our national team short. I think we would both agree on that, right?
Yeah, without a doubt.
So
hey, I do want to ask you, David, how was the Oklahoma State golf outing? Where'd you play? How'd your team do? Putt right-handed or left-handed? What do I need to know here?
Let's answer those in reverse order. I putted right-handed. Stillwater Country Club. It's a very nice course. They did a great job. Clay Hudson is the freaking man. He's I'm friends with him through the National Wrestling Hall of Fame duels. He's sort of the Jason McLeod of Arizona State. You know, those guys put on great tournaments. I know you played in the Hawkeye one. You know, you get lots of cool little gifts and stuff like that for playing. We shot 6 under. It was crazy. We made a ton of pars, 2 birdies and 2 eagles. My buddy rolled in a 60-footer as the first putter, which was insane because the putt had about 5 feet of break. But the other eagle was a hole-in-one, and it was freaking awesome. So we started on the number 3 hole, and we had just made terrible pars basically up till number 9. And it's like 160-yard par 3 going right at the clubhouse. I'll bore you the details. The 3 of us did not hit very good shots. So the last guy, who's 66 years old, his name is Craig Steen. He's Alex Steen's dad. He can hit it, but he got to play from one set of tees up if you're 60 or older.
Sure.
And he hit it, and it was going right at the pin, but there was a lip above the bottom of the hole. And the ball disappeared, and he was playing like an orange or red, like an orangish red ball. And his son is going crazy, like it's in. But, you know, you've played enough golf to think maybe it went off the back of the green. Maybe it's behind the hole. I mean, you know, there's a million possibilities besides it was a hole-in-one. Yeah. We drove up. It was a hole-in-one. Never seen a 66-year-old jump so high in his life. It's freaking awesome. He told me it was his first ace, and he, got to see it with his son, and he had non-related witnesses, myself and then my buddy Matt Biles. He won a very cool cowboy autographed hat. He made the hole-in-one 1 year later, the year before he would have won a car.
Wow.
So, we knew we weren't going to win. Like, we just put a team together of people we wanted to play with, and yeah, I mean, that's how it is because, these scrambles, you don't, when you and I played in your son's scramble, it's just you, me, and your brother. It's more important to get along with the people in your group than it is. You're going to see everybody else afterwards or beforehand anyway.
Sure.
But I've never made a hole-in-one. I've never seen a hole-in-one. So it was an awesome experience.
Good.
It's super cool. And Alex is one of the genuinely good human beings in wrestling and phenomenally smart. And to see him just be like a little kid watching his dad, watching him and his dad go nuts together was freaking cool. And, the back 9 and in the clubhouse, Craig was hole-in-one guy. So, there's a lot worse nicknames to be than Ace.
Yep, so, I agree.
Have you made a hole-in-one?
Yeah, I've had a few.
You've had a few?
I've had 3.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That's impressive, sir. It's very impressive.
It's all luck. Ball's got to land somewhere. You hit enough balls, one of them's going to eventually go in the hole, David.
Well, I would respectfully say that's not what happened to me. So, All right. So that was awesome. Definitely want to thank Clay, and I think I'm going back next year, so it should be really fun. Let's talk about Worlds, big picture. America, this is men's freestyle only, as we said. They finish with 3 firsts, a second, 3 thirds, a seventh, 2 DNPs, 148 points. Iran was 107. You said Flo did some math on Russia. I did some math on Russia, and that's if they were allowed to score. I had them at 117. And
I think Flo had them below Iran. They would have got third. I think
either way.
Like
okay.
106, yeah.
I might be wrong. But either way, America won outright. Okay.
Yes.
Let's stick big picture at the 6 Olympic weights for men, which is 57, 65, 74, 86, 97, and 125. We did not qualify at 57. We did not qualify at 65. We're going to get in all these weights. Dake qualifies the weight at 74. He is now sitting in the finals of the Olympic trials. Taylor at 86, the same. Snyder at 97, the same. And probably the biggest surprise, Mason Paris does the same. So he went from not being on the team to now sitting in the Olympic trial finals. And we're going to go through each of these brackets, talk about our reactions. I will say this to begin with. This is, I got to do the play-by-play for these in 2019. And these pre-Olympic world championships are intense, especially at the Olympic weights in each style, because it's how you qualify. This is the first step, and it's also how your federation makes money, and it's also how these guys make money. And in a lot of cases, if you qualify, you're on the team. Like in America, you're at the alternate if you medal. But like Stefan Misic, Miles Amin, Sebastian Rivera, those guys are on the team. No, they're not going to have to wrestle anybody off. They're in the Olympics. So, but if you had made a bet, Misic wins 57, Rivera makes the finals at 65, Taylor pins Yazdani, okay? And then a 20-year-old Tech Fall Snyder makes Sajalayev quit and wins, cradles a guy and pins him in the finals. And all those things have to happen. That's got to be like 50 or 100,000 to 1.
Yeah. I didn't bet on it. which is a real disappointment now. I could have
retired.
Yeah, I could have retired, not be railroading. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's insane, right?
Yeah.
Just unbelievable. All right. So we go to 57, and we'll talk about America first and then the bracket. So Zane loses 3-2 in the round of 32, and then his opponent loses 8-4 to the Iranian, and so he's out. So then the placers here, Misic, Higuchi, the Armenian, Abakarov, Kartbe, Ugiev, and then Ugiev won, I believe,
the 5
qualifier. Yeah,
yes.
He did. So he was 5th. Okay. So then Ugiev was 5th, and then on down the line. Okay, so we'll just go back and forth. Your thoughts on 57?
I was a little, I was hoping we would have done better, but being his first senior tournament, Worlds, I guess it's not a real shocker. It's going to be harder. And I know you're going to be able to show something, David, where these guys are going to sit now and what they have to do. But I mean, they have 2 more chances to qualify that weight for the Olympics. And if we don't qualify, we don't go. So, this was probably where you want to get it done, obviously. And
let's explain that real quick, and then we'll circle back to specifics. There's 3 ways to get in the Olympics: top 5 at the Worlds, top 2 at your Continental, which are the Pan Ams in our case, or top 3 at the Last Chance tournament. And it's a tournament like this where if you lose, your opponent has to make the finals for the repechage. And then let's say, you lost in one semi and I lost in one semi, and then we win our repechage matches to, quote, be third, then we would have to wrestle each other off for the true third to make the Olympic spot. That is different. Last quad, it was 6 at this tournament and only 2 at the Last Chance. And so you had to make the finals. Like Jordan Oliver lost to Musakayev, which in hindsight now looks like a really good loss. And he was on, basically, if you lose to the champ, you could just be on the wrong side of the bracket. This eliminates that problem. Like if Grant beats you in the semis and me in the finals, but you're the third best guy, then you still have a chance of doing that. So, getting it.
Normally you would think that, we would be heavy favorites to qualify through the Pan Ams or Continental, basically. But I mean, with certain weights, and 57 is going to be one of those weights, you've got somebody like RBY who's going to be wrestling for Mexico, trying to make, 57 kilos. That's not somebody we want to see second round of that tournament, because if you don't make it to the finals, you don't go unless they change the procedure.
No. It's there's no true second. You got to make the finals. And it's in general, America usually is the best, in men's freestyle at the Pans. We only have to send 2 guys, and we'll get to that. But let's circle back when we get to there, and we'll talk about that.
All right.
So my thoughts on the weight class. 1, Misic, unbelievable run, man. He beats Abdullayev, then he beats Ugiev, then he beats Abakarov, then he beats Higuchi. Higuchi is like one of my favorite guys to watch, and Ugiev is too. So, it's interesting because Misic is also American. So, I mean, we theoretically could have that weight qualified, and the same thing with Rivera. And it goes in this whole thing, like these guys that transfer, they go to other countries. I've seen conversations on both sides of it. America's way deeper, obviously, than Serbia or Puerto Rico or Mexico. So, theoretically, it's harder to make the team here, but theoretically you get more support. But since these guys are in RTCs, they're still getting a lot of the same support. We'll get into Cliff Keen and the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club in particular, but let's just put it this way. Like, Misic got arguably the worst draw he could have got and won the tournament. So, unbelievable job by him. So, all right. 61, Vito wins gold here, and I'll go first. I thought he would take second. I thought he would make the finals. He went 10-0, 10-0, 8-2 against Agawa, then 12-2 against Samashbek, and then Magomedov he beats 10-9 and really got, frankly, hosed on a couple calls. So really deserved it. You and I know his dad from the junior college days. He coached at Nassau. I think he wrestled at Nassau like 100 years ago.
He wrestled for Lassen.
Okay.
Yep.
Wrestled for Lassen. Okay. But now they're both world champions. All the celebrations were super cool to see. Vogar's a very interesting cat. Like, I like him because I know him from international stuff. Super happy for his son. Vito has been just on an unbelievable run since he lost to Sam Latona. Like, you take that as sort of the line of demarcation. I think he probably did a better job of getting his weight under control. The stories I'd heard was that was a problem. I've said this to you often on the air. He's so dangerous because if he gets a takedown, he can finish the match. He might be our best guy on top in freestyle. Like, I would think if I go through the list sort of mentally in my head, he's probably our best guy on top. Like, if he catches you, you're done. Like, and he gets that lace and he knows how to steer you so you stay in bounds, and I'm waving my hands around, but like, he's surgical with that. Now, non-Olympic weight, so he qualifies for the semifinals of our trials. Okay. And you and I were talking about this. So this probably tell me your thoughts on 61, and then we'll talk about that bracket.
Yeah, I thought he had an unbelievable weekend or week there. I guess it would have been a weekend for him.
2 days, just 2 days.
Yep.
That's the safest way to say it.
He was as impressive as anybody we sent over there, bar none. I'm really happy for him. Like you said, he's been on an absolute tear. He's beaten guys that you would not predicted him to beat early on, at the national tournament, running through that, and then running through the trials, and now running through, like you said, he pretty much dominated that tournament. Even in the finals, he was the better kid. because I think he probably could have had a few more points. But, and he wrestled a reigning world champion from Russia. Not the reigning, obviously, because they haven't wrestled in the last couple of years. But, I mean, he was a world champion. The guy's a beast. And not somebody you would expect Vito to go out and just, wrestle that style with and be able to score the points that he did. So, yeah, kudos to Vito. It was fun to watch him.
Well, and, Vito, based on how I grew up, he has that sort of European style. Like, he doesn't wrestle all in American style. I think he's like a great blend of probably like some Mike Gray and Yanni, and then also his dad. And, obviously a super high IQ student of the sport and kind of pick and choose which stuff fits your style best. So this is probably a good point, because we're talking about 57 and 61 together, to explain how this works now. So we did not qualify 57. So the next step is the Pan Ams. So the way this works is, if you are a world medalist between 2019 and 2023, you can challenge for the spot at the Pan Ams. A couple things to keep in mind here. The Pan Ams are the weekend before the NCAA tournament. So between the Big 10/12/ACC/whatever, it's the in-between weekend. So theoretically, that eliminates the guys still in college. I'm not saying it, I added the word theoretically. I mean, you could do it, but it really eliminates Dayton and Vito if they're going 133 in college. I mean, I don't know if they give a weight allowance at the Pans, but I'm guessing they don't, since it's an Olympic qualifier. So that's 125.4. So just so people understand this, at 57, the world medalists have been Fix, Gilman, and then Richards. And Richards sits, by the way. He wasn't a world medalist, but he sits. Anybody else that wants to challenge has to wrestle a tournament. And then the winner of that comes out to wrestle Richards in the 2 out of 3 for the Pan Am spot. Okay? Just to explain that. At 61, it was Tyler Graff in 19. 61 didn't get wrestled at the Olympics. Then Fix, then Gross, then Arujau. But Graff didn't medal and Gross didn't medal. So there's 3 guys that could challenge for the spot. Vito, who's still in college, Fix, who's still in college, and Gilman. So again, we don't know anything except how it works, okay? But if we make a fairly logical assumption that Dayton and Vito don't want to make it down to 125.4 the week before NCAAs, plus travel and everything else, Gilman and Zane would wrestle a 2 out of 3 for the spot at the Pans. So just so people understand that. Okay, 65, Nick Lee was our representative. You can go ahead and go first here. I'll lay out what happened. He was in the qualifying round. He won 6-0. Then he got a fall, was leading against Gomez, was winning 10-3. Then he beat Jaloev from Uzbekistan. Then he had a really tough match with the Iranian, 7-4, almost pinned him late. And then the Iranian loses to Musakayev 6-5. And then Musakayev tech falls Sebastian Rivera. So it's kind of, so the medals here: Musakayev, Rivera, Mamedov, Tavanyan, the Iranian's name, who's super tough to say, then Salkutin, Nick Lee, Haji Aliyev, Odaguro. And that's kind of some of the upsets here, right? Aliyev and Odaguro not qualifying their weights, and then Kudiev. So thoughts here at 65.
Yeah, I thought Nick wrestled really well. I really did. I was kind of surprised how well he did wrestle, even though he's been competing hard. This is his first senior worlds also. So to go out there and wrestle that caliber, could have went a little bit better. He could have been, put in a different side of the bracket. I think if he's on the bottom side, I think he has a better shot at being in. I actually think he would have been in the finals. That's the difference between the worlds. So I'm not as worried about Nick qualifying the weight as I am at 57 right now, just because I think he's right there with the best guys in the world. So I feel comfortable that we're going to qualify that weight, David. Just me personally. This is just my opinion. but I feel more comfortable at 65 than I do right this minute at 57. 57, and I don't even know who's going to wrestle for us right now.
Well, I think it's down to two guys. And the other thing is, I don't think
I disagree with you. I think it's down to four guys. I'm not 100% sure Dayton's going to even wrestle this year. He may take Olympic red shirt.
Well, I was down there and I asked. They said he's wrestling.
Okay.
Like his dad said he's wrestling.
Okay.
So I apologize. Yeah. I mean, like
Vito? Now, Vito said he wanted to wrestle this year, NCAAs, but that was before he won the world title.
Well, you understand that if you Olympic red shirt, you can't be enrolled in school.
I understand.
So these guys are already enrolled.
So they can't.
I don't think they can drop out now.
Oh.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I do know this.
I think it's a year of the Olympics. I think he just wouldn't enroll second semester, David. And I think that.
No, you can't be enrolled in the fall. It's the season.
Okay.
Now, he could drop out now. Okay, listen, it's all conjecture, right? It's somewhere between, it's 1 to 3 guys that could challenge Zane for the spot. I think we would agree it's most likely just Gilman, like it's 51% that Vito and Dayton wrestle at 133 and don't go down to 25 the weekend before the NCAAs. But it's certainly possible. Okay. I'll say this about 65, then we'll talk about 70 and then combine those together for the 65 qualification. Nick Lee looked great for his first tournament. Tough draw, wrestled really well. Firmly believe if he could have beat the Iranian, he would have been top 5.
Yep.
Well, let's say he loses to Musakayev, then he still would have been, I think, fine. The Iranian, I think, let me look at this. Yeah, he won 10-0 for the 5th place match. So, I mean, you know, the whole ABB, BBC thing doesn't always apply, but.
Sure.
So, but anyway, I thought he looked really good. Sebastian Rivera, I think, is the biggest surprise to me on the upside of this. And then Otaguro, who might be my favorite foreign wrestler to watch, period, and Haji Aliyev going 8th and 9th. Otaguro is a bigger surprise to me. Haji Aliyev's been amazing, but he's older. And, you know, I would say he's on the backside of the hill. No disrespect. The top of his hill was as good as anybody's. But on the downside, Otaguro is unbelievable. So just, I mean, that's going to make the Asians qualifier, you know, that continental that much tougher.
Sure.
The other thing to say to people is this: if you qualified the weight, you don't wrestle in your continental. So, like, we will not send somebody to the continentals, you know, at the other 4 weights in men's. And the other thing to understand, there's a Pan Am Games and a Pan Am Championships. And one of them you send a full team, and the other one you only send the people you're trying to qualify for the Olympics. So, yes. I mean, there's a lot to keep track of, especially if you're primarily like a college or a high school guy or girl, and you just, you know, you follow this because you like America and you like wrestling, but you're not a nerd about it like somebody like me. So just to understand. Okay, 70, Zane Rutherford, beast-moded people. Okay, he's the number 2 seed. He won 4-0, 9-2, 7-0, and a very controlled, intelligent 8-5 against Little Yazdani in the finals. Number 1, he looks gigantic for the weight. Okay, so
he's filled out. That's how I went.
No, but he looks big for the weight, like not like average to me. I mean, but again, you know, maybe he's got hollow bones. Like he came here and did a clinic with Marcus Hayne and I a couple years ago. Totally biased. You know, like I like the guy a lot. You know, my mom, when she picked me up at the airport, first thing she asked me is, how did Zane Rutherford do? She actually texts him congratulations, and he texts back. So, which is not surprising knowing my mom, like everybody likes her, but he wrestled amazing. He now qualifies. He's in the same spot as Vito. Okay. So he's in the bottom side of the bracket. So to go back to those 57 bracket quickly, in our minds, the top 5 guys in some order are Zane, Gilman, Fix, Suriano, Spencer Lee. And then Vito's the 6th one, but he's not in that bracket of 5. I think it's safe to say that Suriano and Spencer Lee would be the 4 or 5 in some order. And then depending on the Pan Am thing, that would be the 1. Those guys would be on one side of the bracket. And then the 2-3 would be on the other side of the bracket. They'd have to wrestle each other in essentially the quarterfinals and then wrestle Vito in the semifinals.
Yes.
Okay. Your thoughts on Zane, and then we'll talk about 65 in the same format.
Zane was amazing. He has found his home. It's going to be hard for, I know James Green's coming back out to wrestle. The way Zane's wrestling right now, man, I just don't know if anybody's going to touch him. He looks really good at that weight. It looks like that's where he's comfortable. I would imagine he's going to go down or try to go down to make the Olympic team. I don't see him going up trying to beat Dake. But he's going to have to beat a teammate. And
he's got to beat a teammate either way.
Yeah. So I'm guessing he's probably going to try to go down. He's going to be hard to beat. But that's a big weight cut, and he struggles when he has to go down there and weigh in and wrestle right away against somebody that doesn't cut a lot of weight. So, we're going to find out.
Yeah, he's in the James Green spot that James was in at 2016 at the trials, right? Like, and Dake is like phenomenally physically strong at 74. So as strong as Zane looks at 70, I don't think he's stronger. Plus, he'd have to go against, besides probably Marstell or probably Burroughs, he's also got Nolf. Just the Penn State room's loaded around there.
Yep.
All right. So now if we say Zane is going down, okay. So at 65, our world team members the last 5 years were Zane, Jordan Oliver, Yanni, Nick Lee. At 70, they were James Green, non-Olympic weight, James Green, Zane, and Zane. So there's a ton of duplication here. Basically, it comes down to Zane, Oliver, Yanni, and James Green, with the winner coming to Nick Lee. We can eliminate Jordan Oliver. He's fighting in Bellator. James Green is not going down to 65 kilos. I cannot imagine.
No.
Yanni is out of college now, so that's different than the Vito scenario. So theoretically, we could have a Yanni Zane, which we've seen, and multiple bricks will be thrown to wrestle off, and the winner gets Nick Lee. Okay. So, and again, they haven't said when, and this, I read the criteria that USA Wrestling put out. Okay. So I may have misinterpreted it, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Okay. Like I ran it by a couple people that I trust, and I think I got it right. So anyway, now go to 74. We're like halfway through the pod, so we probably got to pick it up a little bit, but we got a couple weights. We're at least at 79. We probably won't talk a lot. 74, Dake makes the finals, loses to Sidikoff. Let me pull up his path real quick. So this was a crazy. He beat Volov, Kapanov, Takatani. Then the Greek beat Salkazanov. But the guys that he had trouble with, at the Olympics, he didn't even have to wrestle them. It was like a crazy draw.
Yep.
So then he loses to Sidikoff, 10-7. It was a challenge. It was really like 9-7 or 8-7. I think it was 9-7, and then the challenge made it 10-7. Just 1-0 at the break. You had some interesting things tactically about this match that you said to me off air.
Yeah, I just think that he was one of the first guys that I've seen, and I'm talking about the Russian. That when he got in on Kyle, he grabbed at the foot instead of grabbing at the leg. So when he went in for his shot, he was at the foot. Kyle wasn't able to pick himself up and elevate to do that little throw that he's done against Jordan, and he's done against
That's right. So people,
everybody in the United States, and that was a big difference. He didn't have the leverage because he couldn't use the feet. So the mechanics of that are you can't chest wrap if you can't plant your feet. Yep. So if you take the person's foot off the ground, you take away his post or his power. Where if you grab anything else up, you're actually
bringing yourself into the chest wrapper, which can actually make it worse.
And Kyle had a hard time getting in on him. I mean, he did get in, he did finish when he did get in, but it wasn't very often that he was able to get in. But part of Kyle's, success is that he doesn't care if people shoot on him because he's going to score off their shots. He's really good at that.
Right.
But that was taken away from him. So I think he's going to go back to the drawing board. I think he's going to change a few things. I still would put my money on Kyle to win the Olympics. I think he's going to figure it out. I just think he's that good. But Sidikoff wrestled really well. I mean, that guy is a beast. And I watched them interview him. He seems like such a nice young man. And he wants to be remembered as being not only a good wrestler, but as a good person. So that was kind of a neat interview that they did with him. He had a translator, obviously. So I'm not sure what he was actually saying, but the translator saying.
Well, let's assume they translated correctly. Let's not put that out in the universe.
So I was happy.
Jeez, Mark, color me skeptical. My gosh.
Well, you never know. But anyway, I just thought Kyle wrestled well. I don't think he was ready for that. I think they had done more training because Sidikoff said he didn't really watch Dake that much. He's seen him wrestle a few times, but didn't change his training or anything to wrestle him. Where obviously he was doing some things. I don't buy all that. So
I don't believe that. I mean, like you said, he made a very specific adjustment, which is theoretically the difference in the match. So the thing about Dake that's so awesome to watch is like he can go score whenever he wants. Like in the semis, he got put on the shot clock first. And so he just goes and scores. Like he just gets double underhooks, pushes the guy right to the edge, picks him up and pushes him out. So he gets a 1 and the other guy doesn't get a 1. And he's not going to get put on the shot clock again, most likely. So, I mean, then it's like really a 3-point kill shot because if nothing else happens, he's probably going to be able to score the shot clock point in the second period. You said something else, that like it'd be nice to see him attack more. Like it seems like he only attacks when he feels like he has to or needs to. And Jaden's done that. Lee Kemp did that over the years. There's a lot of guys that do that, and they're very, very good at it. I agree with you to a point. I just think he's just a little more selective. But, here's the thing about Dake. Like, he always looks tired, but he's never gasses. Like, he's always got his mouth open. His body. He's like this super old school reference, like Jim Brown in football. Like every tackle, you think the guy's dead, and then he's fine, But I don't know how much is that. It's just he's baiting the guy. How much he's just picking his spots to rest. But he's definitely in the driver's seat because he sits in the Olympic trial finals. He's in the spot Burroughs was 3 years ago, where Dake had to go through the mini tournament to get to him. So 79 kilos, Marsteller. He goes 1-1. He wins 7-2 against the Algerian, then loses 9-3 against Abbasov. And then Abbasov lost to Usmanov, and Usmanov won the bracket. So it wasn't like, like a terrible loss, but nonetheless, he doesn't place top 10, doesn't qualify the weight. I'm just going to speed this up a little bit because we got some of the weights we want to spend more time talking about. So unless you have something important to say here, I'm just going to go to 86. But so Marsteller doesn't get any preferential treatment in the bracket, whether he goes 74 or 86. I'm imagining he's going to go down to 74. Him and Burroughs will both be in the bracket. As of now, he's the 1 seed because he beat Burroughs at Final X at 79, unless it's Nolf. Nolf could be because Nolf was the alternate at 74. So there's going to be some sorting out of that, but Burroughs will not be the 1. Burroughs will be the 3, no matter what.
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah. I think Marsteller will be the 2. I think Marsteller will be the 2.
You think Nolf will be 1?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how I would see it because he was the alternate at that weight, and that's the weight that he wrestled.
We work for USA Wrestling, but this is pure conjecture. They have a seating committee. They've got a formula.
Sure.
Didn't bother to call Cody Bickley about that because we don't need to know that right now. But just so Burroughs would have to go through minimum Marcel or Nolf, and then 2 out of 3 Dake, who's been rested.
Yep.
And Burrows will be in the bracket. No one's sitting till the semis.
Correct.
Okay. 86, David Taylor, doing David Taylor things. Wins the tournament, obviously. Let me pull up his scores, though, so we can.
I can give you his scores, David. Tech fall, pin, tech fall, pin, pin. It's absolutely nuts. I mean, he teched or pinned everybody in the tournament.
Okay. He beat the first guy in 14 seconds, then a 10-0 tech fall in 40 seconds, 12-2 tech fall in 4:06, then a pin at 4:36, then he pinned Yazdani. So there's a key point in the match, in the first period of the match, with Yazdani and Taylor. Taylor hits a double leg. It's very similar to the Marsteller Burrows finish, where Marsteller got the points as the defensive wrestler. So there's 3 or 4 criteria to walk through here. Number one is the defensive guy was his feet in bounds when he hit it. With Yazdani, he was clearly in bounds. Marsteller, he was too, but it was near the edge. Number 2, the question is, does the defensive wrestler stop the offensive wrestler's momentum, even if it's for a split second? Third thing is, does he redirect him? And then the fourth thing, which is a criteria apparently, is does the shooting wrestler, so we'll call him the attacking wrestler, does he let go of the legs? Because if you let go of the legs, the rule now is, well, then it was the other guy's move because you're trying to stop it. But what's crazy about this now is this has come full circle because, like, I don't know how much freestyle you've ever wrestled or coached, but when you wrestle or coach freestyle, they're like, hey, man, don't just hang on to the leg for sake of hanging on to the leg because you get rolled around all over the place. I thought it was Yazdani's 4, and that's how they originally scored it. It was like 4 Yazdani. I think that was maybe 1 Taylor. He ended up on top. I can't even remember. They ended up scoring 4 Taylor, 2 Yazdani, I think 2 Taylor, and then 1 Yazdani back on top. But it changed. It doesn't matter. Taylor pinned him. But, and I heard somebody else say they kind of would have liked to see it just before Yazdani, just to watch Taylor run him down. Because he has that in him and he's done it before.
Yep.
Yazdani's kind of given up on the lefty underhook to Taylor. That's probably the biggest adjustment that nobody's talking about because it's just not happening. So
he did try it, but for some reason, Taylor was able to swim out of it twice and just turn his hip into Yazdani. And as soon as Yazdani shot, Taylor just squared his hip up.
I'm saying, though, it's not like, I'm not saying he didn't do it at all, but I'm saying, like, normally he just goes to that. And this was like, well, I'm going to try it once or twice. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to keep it moving. That's what I meant by that.
That's exactly what happened. So it didn't work. So he got away from it. And then really didn't have another go-to thing. That's the problem. Without that underhook, I'm not sure what else he has. And Taylor has a playbook. I mean, he can just go from page to page and try different things. He's just, again, this comes back to wrestling the collegiate style, folk style here in the United States. I mean, David Taylor, and he even said it, that it has helped him so much in freestyle. And you don't really think of that, but he can do so many different things with the cradles. I mean, that 14-second pin with that cradle where he rolled over his own back to put the kid on his back and pin him was just, you don't see that at this elite level of wrestling very often. And David Taylor's able to do it. So I still think he's pound for pound the best wrestler right now in the world. So, and I think he may move up to number 1 now that, Serge Elias got beat, by his student. So,
which we'll talk
about that in a minute. Yeah.
So Taylor sits now in the finals of the trials. To jump ahead, Zahid will be in the same spot as Vito and Zane Rutherford, and Aaron Brooks will be the number 1 seed, which is interesting. Zahid, has an easier path than Brooks does. So, but he lost to him at the U.S. Open. Okay, so 92. Speaking of Zahid, trying to find him in the bracket here. Okay, so he's in the round of 16. He wins 12-9. He loses 5-1 to Nurmagomedov. Nurmagomedov makes the finals, loses. So that pulls Zahid back in. Then Zahid in the consolation bracket goes 6-0 and then 11-0 tech fall over Yoshida. So he takes third, non-Olympic weight. Okay. So I think Zahid basically looked like how we thought he would look against guys that aren't strong enough to just beast him. He's really good at wrestling. He's obviously super light for the weight. I think he could actually make 79, if he cut hard. So
he weighed in, I think he said he weighed in at 86 kilos, David, in his interview.
Okay, so but again,
92, he was 86. I mean, that's
and you're not cutting to get to 86. I'm saying I think he could make 79. I mean, that's 15 pounds difference, 15.4, but I mean, he's fully hydrated, probably had a protein shake in his hand, that kind of thing.
Sure.
So he does a great job. Team points super valuable for the United States. It feels like at 86, first of all, it's Taylor's world, right? Brooks wrestled him fairly close at Final X, but didn't really threaten him. But he's got the most familiarity with him.
Yep.
Casey Cunningham mentioned he thought Brooks could have won the tournament, which is somewhere between fact and just being super confident in your own guy. We don't, who knows? Zahid is in the bottom of the bracket. Brooks is in the top of the bracket. Zahid will wrestle if the seeds hold the winner of the 2-3 and then Brooks. One match thing, and then 2 out of 3 into Taylor.
Yep.
So, anyway. Thoughts on that before we jump to 97, which was complete pandemonium.
Yeah, I think Zahid's going to do fine. He's going to have a hard time with Aaron Brooks, I think. I think Aaron Brooks is a real deal. And then I think I think David will win the Olympics. And then I think he'll probably retire and just do the coaching part of it. And, I don't see him doing another quad after this, but he may, I don't know.
The thing about Taylor is he wrestles twice a year. So you just kind of wonder how long can you keep your body going if you're wrestling 8 matches a year? I understand you're practicing, but they're certainly practicing super intelligently. There's probably days he's not wrestling. He's doing plyometrics or hit training, play wrestling, sparring. So I was 100% with you. Hey, probably win the Olympics, walk off in the sunset. But I think he thinks he can win. He's a 4-timer now, 4-time world and Olympic champ. I think he thinks he can win one. I think he thinks he can get to 7 or 8. The weird thing about 86 is it's not a super deep weight worldwide. I guess the other thing we didn't mention here is Miles Amin qualifies for the Olympics.
Yep.
So, congratulations to him. We'll go back to Cliff Keen Wrestling Club later. But, he takes third. But Miles Amin's a guy that made 1 NCAA final, and lost very convincingly to Aaron Brooks. He had beaten him at the Big Tens, close. And then Aaron Brooks, 4 minutes of riding time and 7-1 kind of match in the finals, okay? Not saying Miles Amin's not a really good wrestler, but he's not like Alex Dieringer. And Alex Dieringer's up there training with him, who's a Hodge winner and a 3-time NCAA champ. So it's just not a tremendously deep weight, at least from our perception. Now, maybe it is. There's a bunch of guys worldwide. And then just it was Taylor and Yazdani were tier 1. Now I think it's Taylor's tier 1, Yazdani's tier 2, and a bunch of people are tier 3. At least that's what it feels like.
But, there was talk that Yazdani was the best wrestler. They thought they put him up with Sadulayev for just talent watching him wrestle, which he's awfully good. But now David Taylor understands. He's wrestled him 7 times, David, and beat him 6 out of 7, or
right. So it's not a rivalry, right?
No.
The only thing that really made it a rivalry was
he beat him in Worlds after Taylor won the Olympics.
Yes,
I think that, and Taylor wasn't even sure if he was going to go to Worlds.
Yeah, but once you go, you go. You're responsible.
I agree.
There's no, he wasn't in shape. Then you shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, obviously, since then, it's been a one-sided show.
Right. But I'm saying, like, you can't do that in life. Like, I mean, like, I got my border brawl in 2 days. I can't step up on this podcast and just do a below average job. Like, if you go, you go. So yes, Donnie won that match fair and square, just like Taylor's won the other one.
Agreed.
But when it's 6-1, it's not really a rivalry.
Yeah.
I think the MO was that, yes, Donnie was better at wrestling and Taylor was in better shape. I think that was the MO early. Like, could Taylor keep it close because he's going to win the second period? And can Yazdani get a big enough lead to hang on? Both things have switched. Yazdani doesn't look as tired now, although he looked really tired at the end of that match. But there's other matches he just lost. And Taylor's no longer like, well, I'm going to lose the first period. Like, he feels like he's as skilled. Part of it is he's gotten better, and part of it is he has a very specific game plan for wrestling Yazdani. Yeah. Okay, 97. Like, this way just blew my mind. Okay, so, well, all right. So I was literally like shaving my head the other day, listening to Flo, and they went on the air right after Snyder had lost and before the semi. And they're like, it looks like now this will be the first time Snyder does a medal. He's going to have to go to the pans. We still think he'll qualify the weight. And honestly, I probably would have said the exact same thing. So it's not Monday morning quarterback, right? But to just walk through, if people don't know what happened, Snyder won 11-0. He won 12-1. And I'm laughing because it's just absurd. He got teched 11-0 in 2 minutes and 51 seconds. Then that guy from Bahrain was beating Sajalayev 9-2, and then Sajalayev defaulted out. And then he pinned Magomedov in a cradle while being up 8-1 in the finals. So just so people understand, then Snyder comes back through and beats Ibragimov, and then he beats Sajalayev by default. So Snyder takes third, qualifies our weight, sits in final X. The only person I think that can even give him a match is Jaden, and we don't know what's going on there. He hasn't wrestled in a long time. He's been hurt. The story to me is the guy that freaking won the weight.
Yeah. He was absolutely.
Kazadinov, yeah, from Bahrain, 20 years old. He made Snyder and Sajalayev look small. Like, when you look at him, like, he's just a bigger human being, a bigger framed human being. It looked like
he's probably 3 inches, 4 inches taller than both of them.
He looked like a shooting forward against a point guard. Like, he's just bigger.
Yeah.
He also, you brought something up, so I'm going to kind of steal your thunder and then set it up. You said in the Snyder match, he didn't attack a lot, and he scored a ton of points off counters. Yeah. Elaborate there, like coaching process.
Well, he was able to. He knew Schneider was going to shoot, so he was prepared for that. He let Schneider get in, and then he was able to do the chest wrap and elevate him and score points whenever he wanted. So he was very skilled at what he was doing. Kyle is going to have to change the way he wrestles him. He's going to have to push him out, just do single legs, try to walk him off the mat, not get underneath of him. But Kyle, he's done that to everybody, be able to get in on a double leg and drive through him and finish. And that didn't happen here. I listened to the same interview you did, David, with Flo when it happened, and how you could see those guys. I mean, the Flo daubers were down. They were like in shock. They didn't even want to do the podcast because, their world was just turned upside down, it seemed like.
Right.
And they didn't think there was any way he was going to place. And I had watched Sajalayev wrestle the guy from Iran that round and barely won. Caught him in a move where the guy got in on his legs and he kind of just hipped into him and actually ended up pinning him. But it was right at the end of the match and he was down at that point. I thought Sajalayev wasn't in shape and he looked tired. So I didn't think he was going to have a cakewalk in the semis, and obviously he didn't, and then flew home.
Well, I think the more real, okay, you're a coach, you have a very bright mind, okay? But if you're just looking past performance, right? Like Sajalayev has beaten Snyder Just like
Every
we talked
time.
about Taylor
Pretty much. Yep.
Johnny, like Snyder's won one. Okay.
Correct.
Sajilayev's won more than one. So when you see him on the same side of the bracket, the first thing you think is Snyder's got to make the semis.
Yep.
Right? Because then if he loses the Sajal, if he wins, great. He wins the tournament probably. If he loses, okay, well, he's pulled through to the finals automatically because he lost in the semi. Here's the whole thing that changed. It went from, oh my God, he's probably not going to even get to wrestle for third, to he's going to take third without having to wrestle Sajalayev, all in about 45 minutes.
Yep.
I mean, which is absurd. Here's the other absurd thing. Kyle Snyder has 9 world and Olympic medals. He has medaled every year since, I think it's 2015. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20. Yes. From 15 to 23. There's 9. He's 9 for 9 in medals.
Pretty impressive.
I think Baumgartner's got 13. I mean, I think Snyder's going to get there.
Yeah, because he's still, what, 25, 26? He's not very old.
I'm going to Wikipedia him while we're talking.
All right.
All right. So let's talk about 125. I'll set up the bracket and then I'll Wikipedia. So let's start with Mason Parris. Let's start with the negative and then the positive. He got an unbelievable draw. Okay. He gets away from Zaire. He gets away from Magul. He gets away from Petrashvili until the semis. That is the best draw you can have. Somebody said, well, Deng's really good. Yeah, Deng's really good. But you have to wrestle somebody good, but you got away from the 3 best guys till you made the final 4.
Yep.
Okay, now, here's the good. He took advantage of it. The Deng final scramble, how that got ruled, could have went 9 different ways, but he wins that match. Then he wrestles Gino really tough. Okay?
Actually had it won.
Right.
I mean, he was in a position to win right at the end and gave up that, late takedown.
And then Tech calls Turbanov from Russia to take third. So go ahead and,
Yeah, I was really impressed with Parris. I was happy for what he was able to do. He's going to be able to sit now. And I think that's just going to give him confidence. And it's nice to have, everybody's talking about Gable coming back. Will he be back? Is he going to wrestle in the Olympics? And I think he's going to, but I thought he was going to wrestle in the Worlds this year too. And then last minute, he had a conflict, so he didn't. But I think Parris is going to be a threat, and I think Gable obviously is still, I think, better. I would say he's going to make a run at it. Boy, Iran looks good at heavyweight, don't they?
Zaire is like. Yeah. The match
beast.
everyone wants to see is Zaire Gable, right? Because even if you say, well, Parris wrestled Petrashvili really tough, well, Zaire just smoked Petrashvili, right? So it's not like you go, well, if he could have got that one match, he would have won the finals. So Parris sits now. He's in the finals of the Olympic trials. No disrespect to anybody else, like the Wyatt Hendricksons and everybody else of the world, but it feels like, which is interesting because Wyatt Hendrickson actually wrestled Parris really close. At that
meeting, like 12 to 10 or something?
Yes, and they were like gut-wrenching each other back and forth. Yeah. But it feels like Parris's jump levels, and part of it is confidence, right? Like you go place at the Worlds, you start feeling like you can be a world champion. It feels like Gable would have to, the only person that, I shouldn't say that. I think Wyatt Hendrickson could actually give him a good match, but it feels like it's Gable, Wyatt Hendrickson, and the winner gets Parris.
Yep.
All right. I Wikipedia Kyle Snyder. He is born November 20, 1995. So he will turn 28 in November.
Okay.
Here are his results. At the Olympics, 2016 gold, 2020 silver. At the Worlds, gold in 15, 17, 22, silver 18 and 21, bronze 19 and 23. So if you combine those, that's 4 gold, 3 silver, 2 gold, or 2 bronze, 4, 3, 2, top to bottom. 9 for 9. He's also won the Pan Ams 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the championships in the Pan Am Games twice. So just unbelievable. I mean, I don't know how many people have 9 world medals, period. Like, not in America, like, period.
Yeah, not a lot.
He's 28, or he's going to be 28.
Yeah. He'll have another quad without a doubt after this one, I think.
So that's 5 more.
Yep.
Because it's this Olympics plus 4 more. I mean, and then he'd be 32.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unbelievable, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the women and everything else next week. We're certainly not going to try to, we were going to try to get to the college, but we don't have time. Quickly, Cliff Keen Wrestling Club, Nittany Lion Wrestling Club in particular, clubs did great. Like Nittany Lion had Nick Lee, Zane, Take, Taylor, Snyder, Cliff Keen, Misich. I don't know if he's still there now. I think he's in Chicago, but Gomez went, Miles Amin. Okay. Shout out to New Jersey RTC, or Buxton was with Rivera.
Yep.
So, but definitely want to give those clubs credit. And I literally just got a text from Bill Zadek because I had texted him. So, just back-to-back world team title for America, and just, I just sent him a text like, congrats, Bill. Back-to-back is amazing. Said, thank you, David. I appreciate the message and kind words. It means a lot, with some USA flags and the prayer hand. So very cool. Bill Zadek's one of the good people in our sport, and very, very bright, and kind of the perfect timing to get that text, like right at the end of our podcast. You just want to shout people out when they're doing amazing work. And Bill's also like one of the most egoless guys I've met that is that high up in the food chain. So just very, very quickly, just so people don't think we have lost our minds or forgotten. So the women's results we had so far, and we'll get into it. Hildebrandt, 3rd, Parrish 0-1, Winchester 2nd, Maroulis 3rd, Page 3rd, Miracle DNP, Kilty 2nd, and we're waiting for Bruntel to wrestle for 3rd through 6th, Amita Lore for 1st or 2nd, and Adeline Gray took 3rd. So we qualified Hildebrandt's weight, Maroulis's weight, Gray's weight. We did not qualify Parrish's weight or Miracle's weight, and Bruntel needs to win 1 out of 2 to qualify that weight. So it feels like we'll probably qualify 4 out of 6 in the women's as well. Greco has just started when we're recording this. Not going to even attempt to get into all that. I thought we'd have time to do 125 in college, but that'll have to wait.
Yep.
Border Brawl is Saturday. Shout out to everybody who's helped me get ready for that. Picking up Randy Couture from the airport tonight. If people want to donate to his foundation, all the money goes to veterans with amputations and PTSD. Just go to XCGIF, which is the acronym for Extreme Couture GI Foundation.org. Hit donate now. 100% of the money goes to the veterans because Randy's gym staff runs the foundation, so there's no overhead. So
perfect.
Yeah, I think USA Wrestling will be fine with that. If not, they'll cut it out. But for GT, who is over there crushing life, I know you follow GT, but he's a great follow. He always puts crazy foods of the day that are, like pizza flavored Doritos and things like that. But that guy works really hard, but knows how to enjoy life. He's our good friend. We're blessed to have him on this pod. This is the time of year where we could actually use him, but I think we muddled through okay. And
our uniforms looked really good over there too, by the way, Grant. Just want to shout out to Grant. They looked outstanding. So
yep, and the Border Brawl uniforms are fire too. I'll send some pictures next week. So we appreciate Nike. You're wearing the crispy white golf shirt. I had to wear this one in honor of the team. So for GT, for Mark, I'm David. Thank you guys for watching and listening. We'll speak to y'all next week.